Hello everyone, today I'm back in World of Guns, Gun Disassembly, and today we have yet another incredibly iconic pistol to take a look at. This time I'm taking a look at the Mauser C-96, also called the broom handle. So basically this pistol has been around for a whole bunch of time. It was developed at the end of the I would say like in the 1880s, late I guess early 90s and late 90s as well, because obviously the model number is 96. So at that time there wasn't really a whole bunch of stuff on the market in terms of a semi-automatic pistol of any sort, I guess. Pretty much your only choice was a revolver. So something like this, even though it's not the most ergonomic thing in the world, it's not the most practical thing in the world, it's not the most cost-effective thing in the world, it still gained quite a bit of traction, and it had quite a bit of success at that point. Also, with the start of the First World War, these things were still quite popular at that time, because I guess not many pistols were around at that time either. I guess you would have three main options if you wanted to have a locked breech semi-automatic pistol. You could have a 1911, which was at that point pretty much cutting edge technology. I'm not sure, I guess they were selling them on the commercial market, but those things were probably quite expensive. You could get a Luger, which was definitely quite expensive because they always were, or you could get this, which would be pretty expensive as well. In terms of sort of design, this is obviously a magazine forward design, so it has a magazine forward of the trigger guard, as opposed to the 1911 and the Luger, which have the magazine in the grip. Now that design, the magazine in the grip, proved to be more practical, better for packaging overall. So that's pretty much what every pistol on the market today is like. So these things, so pistols with a magazine forward of the trigger guard were actually quite common in before the invention of the pistol grip magazine, I guess. You would have I guess some other companies that would develop their pistols in this fashion. I think like the Savage pistols had a similar design. Also a couple of European small production ones. So it was a thing. So basically, it's, I guess it's less complex to put the magazine forward of the trigger guard. Theoretically, the magazine can be a bit more straightforward, not as complex. Also, you don't need a separate magazine well, I guess, necessarily. I guess you don't need one for the with the magazine in the grip either, necessarily, because you could have a top-loading magazine in the grip as well, such as the Steyr automatic pistol that was in service with the Austrian military during World War One. But anyway, I've gone off track here, so let's go through the features here. So basically, we've got a grip here at the rear of the pistol, and that's pretty much the reason why it's called broom handle as well, because in a wooden handle this looks sort of like a broom, I guess. I don't know. And then we've got, I believe, a 10 round magazine up front, and it's chambered in 7.65 maybe, Mauser, something like that. And then we've got, which actually was not a terrible cartridge at that time. It was quite potent. I don't know how it would compare to today's 9mm or something. Probably not as powerful. Definitely had a smaller bullet, so I don't know, better at penetrating. But I don't know how it would compare, like energy wise, but it wasn't too terrible. We can put it that way. And then we've got a barrel on the front, obviously, with a unprotected front sight. We've got a quite an extensive rear sight, which sort of looks like a rifle rear sight actually, which is also adjustable for distance, which is actually quite rare in pistols. And that the reason for that is that this could be used as a sort of a carbine as well. You can see that on the back of the grip there is this sort of slot machined, and you could attach a shoulder stock into that slot that would sort of help you shoot it more accurately, and presumably you could take advantage of this sight. Also, that stock would double as a holster, so it was a sort of a wooden holster for this pistol, and that's just really cool. Quite a few of the pistols from that era had this sort of similar dual functionality. Of course, those holsters were never very good holsters, and they were never very good stocks. They were just sort of somewhere in between, so they sort of fell out of favor. But they're still really cool. Okay, so we've gone through this basically. It is hammer fired, as you can see here at the rear, and this lever on the side is the safety, and that's pretty much it. So let's take it. Let's field strip it first of all. Did I forget something? Probably. Let's just take it apart, and I'll probably remember some other stuff. So yeah, the reason why I said it was probably quite expensive, this pistol, is because it's pretty much milled out of a solid block of steel. So as you can see, very intricate detail on the inside, probably very expensive to make. Also, yeah, I didn't really mention the role of this pistol in World War One. So basically, as with many militaries at that time, the German military had a sort of a rule that the officers had to provide their own sidearms. That was very common at that time, and many of those officers actually bought a C-96. I guess they could get Luger as well, or they could get, I don't know, something else. They were probably limited to German production, but quite a few of them chose the C-96, so that's where quite a few of them comes from. But also the civilian market primarily. These guns were actually quite popular on the civilian market, as I said before. They were mainly just in 7.65 Mauser caliber. I guess there were some 9mm versions, if I remember. They were called, if I remember correctly, they were called the Red 9, and they had a large sort of 9, number 9 in the grip panels. So that was kind of cool. All right, so let's just go through the operation here. You can see it's really cool. It's basically short recoil, I guess. you can see it's got a slide, but then it also has a separate bolt, so it's quite complex in operation. We've got basically the slide is directly connected to the barrel. It's all one piece basically, and then we've got a whole bunch of intricate sort of detail inside of the slide. You can see that must be quite expensive to make. And then the bolt, it's sort of a square design, which is kind of cool. You don't see that very often. Bolts are usually just round. We've got this thing, which is basically like a locking block, I guess. So that sort of moves. And then we've got the firing pin. So let's put this together first of all. You can also see that the trigger group comes out. It's not actually the trigger group because the trigger is still in the pistol. It's more of a like I don't know, fire control unit, I guess. It's the hammer and the safety and pretty much all of the internal works all come out in this neat little unit, which is pretty nice actually, especially for the period. It's pretty nice that it's actually that streamlined. Alright, so let's put it together. We've got the locking block, then we've got our firing pin and the spring, obviously. Does that not go in? Apparently not. Okay. Oh yeah, we've got this thing. Bolt stop. And then this goes in. Alright. And then that goes onto the fire control group. That all goes on the lower, and then the magazine spring and the follower and the base plate go in the bottom. And there's our reassembled C-96. Let's go into operation and see how it works. So let's just fire it normally. You can see the bolt comes out of the back, and it cocks the hammer as well. And you'll be able to see how it works. It's basically, let's just go slow motion first of all. So basically what you're gonna see is it moves the whole sort of slide moves back, and that causes the bolt to unlock from the locking block, I guess. And that's how it unlocks. Then it just goes back into battery. Hammer fired, as you can see. And we've got a double stack internal magazine. That's pretty cool. Alright. What else can we do? Fire until empty. Yes, please. Alright. Locks open. That's nice. Okay. Let's reload it. As you can see, it loads via stripper clip. You can see on the top there's a stripper clip guide, so you have to lock the bolt back, and then you can use the stripper clip, and it holds all of the 10 rounds. You can also manually cycle it. We've got this sort of pull tabs on the back of the bolt that you can pull. That's pretty much how that works. All right, let's do the holster. So this is the holster that I was telling you about. It's this wooden thing. It looks really cool, I think. I don't know if it's just me, but my sort of appreciation for this pistol, or does it really look cool like this? Especially if you open it up. I can't do it right here, but you press this button basically, and this rear piece just sort of goes open, flies open, and you can see the back of the pistol in there. That's pretty cool stuff. Right, so let's get it out of the holster, and as you can see, the holster has a metal thing on the front that locks into this recess on the back of the grip. All right. What else can we do? Oh yeah, as the stock. So basically this is how it attaches. You just flip it around and it attaches to there. So basically the way you shoot this is you put your thumb basically across the top, and the rest of the fingers go around the grip pretty much. That's how it works. Right. We can also put on the safety. There we go. And let's do the X-ray. Oh, that's very interesting. The rounds are sort of canted. They're not straight. Interesting. Alright, so that's one way to get around the feed ramp problem, I guess. That is really cool. I didn't know they were positioned this way in the magazine. I thought that they were just straight like a normal pistol. You can see the follower is canted, and so the rounds are as well. That's really cool. Helps them get into the chamber, but I guess it reduces the capacity. Okay, let's go through the X-rays. There is the hammer spring. It's a coil spring. Let's go to the locking block. There it is. So basically you can see it's got these two sort of locking, I guess, lugs at the top, which lock into the matching recesses in the bolt. So if we go to slow motion and fire this thing, you'll be able to see how it works. So basically the whole slide comes back first of all, and then it unlocks from this locking block. Then when it goes back to the front, locks again, resets the trigger. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, what else do we have to do? Do the X-rays all the way, and then do the cutaway. Oh, that's cool. Alright, you see the rounds in there. Let's give it another shot. Nice. You can see the recoil spring is actually sort of wound around the firing pin, which is kind of interesting. It's inside of the bolt, wound around the firing pin. That's kind of interesting. Haven't seen that before. Alright. I think that's probably enough for our operation. So let's go into disassembly, and we're gonna take this thing completely apart. Don't know how many parts it has. Oh, only 34. Okay, that's not too bad. I reckon we can do that. Alright. So the mag comes apart. We can take off the follower and the spring. Okay. And then we can take out the basically the whole upper assembly. We've got this I don't know, slide assembly, I guess, with the bolt, firing pin, and the locking block. We've got this thing that locks the spring in, bolt stop. Got the spring, and we've got the bolt. Perfect. Alright, now we can probably take apart the bolt. We've got an extractor, and that's all, I think, for the bolt. Okay, this locking block is just one piece. We have a little spring on the firing pin, and we've got a sight, obviously, which has got a spring and a slider, and also it's got a little mechanism in there. Alright, so we've got also, that's pretty much it for the slide assembly. So let's move on to our firing trigger group, fire control group, I guess. Got the safety on the side that comes out. Okay, then we've got some pins in here. that's a disconnector. Nice. That's a sear. Okay. Got a pin in there as well. Right, and the hammer spring comes out. And we've got another pin. And then the hammer should come out. That's just one piece. That's it for our fire control group, I think. And we can move on to the lower, I believe. Oh, this has got a sort of a plunger as well on the spring. Alright. The lower does not have many parts. It is still quite complex by looks. We've got the grips that we can take off. Obviously there's nothing underneath. So it's just a place to grip the pistol. The lanyard loop does not come off. We've got the trigger that's still in here. That's got a trigger spring and the actual trigger. And there is one disassembled C-96 broom handle. Right, let's put this thing back together quickly. Right, so let's do the trigger group first of all, the fire control group. Right, I recommend in the hammer, and then we've got a pin there. We've also got the spring for the hammer that goes in. We have this thing. We've got what is that? The rocker coupling, sure. We've got a thing, the safety lever that goes on the side. We've also got the sear and the disconnector. Perfect, that is one reassembled fire control group. Now we can do the lower, so we've got our grip panels, which are held on by this screw. Alright, we also have got a trigger that goes in. Got a spring and a 4-plate catch. There we go. That's nice. And then we can do the slide. And let's do the bolt first of all. So we've got an extractor. We should have a firing pin. Not sure, that probably goes in later. Let's just put the bolt in first of all, and then we can put the locking block here. We can also put the spring, the little spring on the firing pin. Then we've got the big spring, right? We've got the locking thing for the spring, and then we've got the firing pin with the little spring. Okay, that's good. Then we can reassemble the sight. Okay, it's got a spring and it goes on like that. And then the last thing to do is to do the magazine, to reassemble the magazine. We've got the floor plate, the spring and the follower, and then we put the whole thing together. So that goes on here, that the whole thing goes on there, and then we've got the magazine spring, and there we go, one reassembled C-96 broom handle Mauser. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. This is a really cool pistol. I don't know if it's just me or is it just really cool to everyone. It's so mechanically nice and very intricate and incredibly high quality. So obviously I didn't mention this, but most of them don't look like this one here. Most of them are just blued and have some sort of wooden grip. This one is just way too fancy. I don't know why they put this fancy version in. and there's not even an option to have a more nicer version, just a blued version. But those are really cool. I had the opportunity to handle one when I was a kid, and I've been in love with it ever since, and hopefully someday I will be able to afford one. They are quite incredibly expensive currently. Their prices have skyrocketed in the last couple of years, so currently not on the highest list of priorities for me. But hopefully one day I will get one into my possession. It's just it's not like a great shooting pistol, because obviously the balance is off. It doesn't sort of handle like a modern pistol. You have to sort of fumble with the stripper clips if you can find one, and obviously ammo is hard to find and quite expensive, so those are all the minuses, but I still think it's a really cool pistol, and it's just a piece of history, and well, I hope I will have someday the opportunity to shoot one. I'm sure it doesn't shoot very well, but it will still probably be very cool. So anyway, I think that's probably enough for this video. If you liked it, you can press the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my other videos, and I will see you next time.